Hi, 4th and 7th period. Remember last time we read, Molly had convinced Mr. Windsor to leave with the family, and they were all packed up and they were just getting ready to walk out the door, but Figs and Stubbs stepped in. Molly lay on the foyer floor. Her feet and hands were tied with coarse rope, which cut like sandpaper against her skin. She struggled against the binds, trying to find a loose spot to slip her hand through, but none would reveal itself. The room around her was now a wasteland of overturned suitcases and torn curtains and broken furniture. "Molly, I'm scared," said a voice in her ear. It was Penny, tied up like the rest of them. Her glasses had fallen off her face and were lying on the floor. "Hush, love." Molly forced a smile. "You'll be fine." A sort of cascading crash hit her ears. It sounded as if one of the men were pulling books down from the shelves in the study. Unlike on their previous visit, Fig and Stubbs had wasted no time with threats and ultimatums. They had tied up the family almost immediately and began ransacking the house. "Sounds like they're having fun," Kit muttered from the other side. He had a fist tied to hide. He had, at first, tried to hide in the stables, but Fig had found him and put him next to Molly. This at least allowed them to talk openly without startling the others. "We have to get out of here," Molly whispered, too quietly for Penny to hear. "When the sun goes down, the night gardener will be back here, and something's telling me he's still angry." She craned her neck, though, looking through the open front door. The sun over the trees was a boiling red, the last gasps of daylight quickly draining from the sky. "So much for our simple plan," Kip said. Figs and Stubbs wandered back into the foyer with a casual, almost friendly air. Long splinters of bits of cushion fluff clung to their shabby coats. Fig had the Windsor portrait in his hands, holes punched into the canvas. "Look at this, Stubbs." He pushed his head through a hole above Constance's body. "Ain't I pretty?" he said, making kissing sounds. That does it for the study," Stubbs said, wiping his hands. "Next stop, the bedrooms." He looked at Master Windsor, who had blood on his face from where they had struck him. "Lest you just want us to save us the trouble." "I already told you I have nothing," Bertrand sputtered. Stubbs cocked his head to one side. "And I told you. A man don't leave his house without squirreling away a few earthly possessions." Fig opened something from Constance's open trunk. "How's these for earthly possessions?" He waved a pair of stockings over his head. "This wasn't our agreement," Bertrand said. "You weren't supposed to be here until tomorrow." "Well, that's the thing," Stubbs said, scratching his head. "When you been in this business long as me and Fig, you learn a few things, like how folks tend to disappear right when they're expecting you. So we like to pop in a day or two early." He propped a foot on one of the suitcases, "which I think you'll agree is a wise precaution." The grandfather clock, which had been opened but now overturned, rang 7 times. Bertrand exchanged a look with Molly to show that he too understood the importance of getting out of the house before nightfall. He turned back to the men, putting on a smile that might have passed for charm in another circumstance. "My good sirs, I owe you both an apology. You've come all the way out here, and I've been incredibly rude. Take everything, furniture, clothes, the whole house. Only please let us go." Stubbs stood over him, his belly protruding from his coat. "You're awful eager to go riding out in the dusky fog." He drew a handkerchief from his vest, and Molly caught a glimpse of the large knife at his belt. "You know, Fig," he said, polishing his monocle, "I heard that some rich folks sew money right into their clothes to hide it from the robbers and brigands and the like." Fig stood up, joining his stout companion. Now that you mention it, I think I heard that too. Well then, Stubbs said, replacing his monocle, perhaps this merits a more thorough search. He drew the knife from his belt and handed it to Fig, as one might pass a brush to a painter. Fig took the knife, flipping it casually in his large hand. He paced the length of the room, pointing the blade at each person as he passed. Duck, 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 goose. He had stopped at Constance. The woman, who was only barely conscious, stared at the man towering over her. Bertie? No! Master Windsor pulled against his binds. Not her. She's ill. Then she won't put up a fight, Fig said, kneeling. With a flourish, he removed the blanket from over her body and cut a slice along the side of her mattress. Feathers spilled onto the floor. Tell me when I'm getting warm, he said, and thrust a hand inside her mattress. Searching for hidden valuables, Constance recoiled, closing her eyes. Bertrand thrashed like a madman. Get away from her, he screamed. Temper, temper. Stubbs swung a boot, hitting him square in the face. Bertrand's head snapped back, and when Molly saw his face again, there was blood coming from his nose. Please, he whimpered. Molly studied the expression of the two men. At once gleeful and grim, they looked like they would be more than happy to do this all night, and Molly did not have all night. She searched the floor for a bit of broken glass or a stray nail, anything that she might use to cut the rope. She again noticed the blade tucked into the back of Fig's belt. If she could just distract him, she might be able to get it. She closed her eyes and dug deep within to find the part of herself that could, just possibly, save them. When she opened her eyes again, they shone with a spark of determination. Had enough? Stubbs said, striking Bertrand again. Cause I could go all night. Hit him all you want, Molly called over the din. He ain't gonna tell you a thing. These rich folks rather die than lose a penny to those beneath them. Silence fell over the room, and she felt every person look at her. You want to take this place? Stubbs said, turning. Molly raised a brow as if to imply she might enjoy such attentions. You and me ain't like the Windsors, she said, a hint of song in her voice. I could tell it the first time we met. We wasn't born with silver spoons in our mouths. We got to take what we can, however we can, and hang the rest. At this, Stubbs gave an involuntary nod. Molly fought back a smile. It was working. Take me with you and I'll show you the money myself. How does that sound? Stubbs screwed up his mouth, clearly at war with his instincts. What would a little maid know about secret loot? Molly tilted her head back, a defiant smirk on her face. Servants know everything about a house, especially the secrets. This here's my 5th maid's job. I work long enough to get the lay of things and then cut loose with all the cash I can carry. Now I'm thinking it's time I got myself some business partners. Maybe take up work cleaning a bank in the city. Molls, what are you doing? Kip hissed. Molly ignored him and continued. The Windsors never cared about me, and I don't care about them. She tried not to imagine the look on Penny's face as she said this. That way I see it, you two are the compence they got coming. Stubbs grinned, as if the idea of being the arm of cosmic justice appealed to him. There's a little key in Master Windsor's waistcoat, she said. It unlocks the closet at the top of the stairs. Inside there is everything you could ever want. She held Stubbs' gaze in her own. Everything you deserve. She cast out this last word like a fish hook on the sea. Stubbs blinked at her, half hypnotized. The monocle had slipped from his eye and was dangling from a chain on his lapel. He swallowed and nodded at Fig. Might as well check his coat, eh? Fig left Constance and searched Bertrand. Looks like she was telling the truth, he said, pulling a key from his pocket. You'll come with us, pet? Stubbs grabbed Molly's arm, pulling her to her feet. And if it turns out you're lying, it'll be cadavers we search next. You gonna carry me? She said, indicating her bound ankles. Stubbs rolled his eyes and nodded to Fig to cut her feet free. Molly felt a rush of circulation as the rope fell from her legs. She watched closely as Fig slid the knife back into his belt, only a few inches away from her hands. The two men led Molly up the staircase. She truly did not know what would be waiting for them inside the room, but she hoped it would be enough to distract them at least for a moment. When they reached the top of the stairs, Stubbs took the key and slid it into the lock. After you. He tipped his hat and swung the door wide. Molly took a breath and stepped into the room. Chapter 46 is called Trust. Have a good day.